Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel. I am really super excited today because I am bringing us a walkthrough of the brand new This Might Hurt Tarot deck by Isabella Rotman. This is a deck that I was super excited to back on Kickstarter, and a deck that is due to ship out to backers actually a little bit later, from about mid-October through early November. But Isabella had sent out a message to her backers saying that she did bring in a few decks early. Most of them are coming over by sea, but she did have some expedited to her. Enough for her launch party, I believe, and also for anybody who might want to review the deck. So I did reach out to her and ask if it was all right if I got one of those early copies so that I could give us a walkthrough on YouTube. I'm super excited. This was a deck that as soon as I saw the preview art on Kickstarter, I was all in. So many of the images just spoke directly to me, and there was a lot of really wonderful diversity, and it just was really exciting to see. We don't get a lot of decks with this kind of feel, and this one just captured me immediately. So if you want more information on this deck, you can check that information out at www.thismighthurttarot.com. You will be able to pre-order this deck. There's extras for people who didn't back it on Kickstarter. So you should be able to get this deck even though the Kickstarter itself ended a bit ago. And yeah, there's going to be some more information, so I'm going to get right into it. I'm probably going to take my time going through this deck. There's a lot I want to say about the artwork as we move through, so this is definitely going to be a long one. Make sure that you have a nice hot cup of tea or something to do, maybe some laundry to fold, says I, because I like to fold laundry while watching videos, or something else so that you are in it for the long haul, because yeah, this is going to be a long one. I also recommend, if you haven't seen it before, that you check out the little gear in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, because you can actually put me on double speed. I don't know if I recommend it because I talk really fast, but it's still a neat hack if you want to just see the art a little quicker. So with that said, I'm going to just get right into it, had a sip of my own tea. It was really cool actually when I opened the box and saw this cute little sticker for This Might Hurt. Oh look, and there's the website right on it. That is awesome. So I was really excited. I'm gonna actually light my incense. I was really excited when I saw that this particular deck, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, that it has this kind of a box. I totally distracted myself. So it's the kind where it's got the little magnetic flap on the side. I love all the gold. There's that gold accent. And you get all of the suits. So you have the coin here, the wand, the cup, and the sword. It's just stunning. And it is the kind of box that opens on the side. This is my favorite. I literally was just talking about this in my last anti-haul video, but the boxes that open this way are so nice because as much as I love two-piece boxes, I like the convenience of being able to just empty out the cards. Oh, got a little spoiler of our King of Pentacles there on the bottom. And then in the bottom of the box here, This Might Hurt Tarot First Edition. Oh, so pretty. And you also have this white rose, the same white rose that you typically see on the death card, which is really cool on this black background here. So I'm just gonna set that out of the way. Yeah, maybe we'll stick it all the way out of the way. So the backings, oh, you guys. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to show you the little mini book in a second, but these backings are everything. They feature the world card here, the Ouroboros, and then of course all of the suit symbols. So we have the cup, the sword, the wand. Where's our pentacle? I feel like oh, it's in the corners here, these little pentacles. So it is a reversible back, which is really nice. I don't currently read with reversals, although some decks I do, if they have like keywords that reverse or things like that. You had a choice as a backer for two different kinds of edging. There was a gold edge, or there was this stunning holographic black. Oh, I'm so glad the camera is picking up the rainbow on these edges. They are so pretty. I wasn't sure what I was going to think of this edge on a white bordered card, but oh my gosh, just look. I'm pretty sure as well that these are a 350 GSM cardstock. They feel flexible but sturdy. Actually, these might be 330s, but yeah, it might be 330. But yeah, I'm really loving this edging. And the edging does not have any kind of a sparkle to it. It's got a metallic sort of sheen. It's kind of a nice, almost gunmetal black. It's not quite a full deep black because of the holographicness. Can we just get some more of that? Sorry, he's probably getting old, but I can't. Okay, so I'm gonna put the cards to the side for a second. Let's take a peek at the guidebook. You can access the full guidebook on the website. It'll be in a larger font because in order to get the guidebook in the box, they did have to shrink the font quite a bit. I really like, make sure we're good and focused. The camera might shake a little there for a second. I really like that even though the text is small, that's going to be a little bit of a pain. And I get, you know, Isabella was very transparent about that throughout the process, that the font was unfortunately a little bit small. But when you move into the actual cards, you do have full-size black and white images. Now, Isabella did all of the artwork for this deck and wrote the guidebook, but she did have a colorist that she worked with to do all the coloring. And so it's really cool that we have the original black and white illustrations in the guidebook. I think that it's really cool to see this deck with color, of course, but I really appreciate that. So let's see, I think I'm kind of doing a bad job of flipping through this, but let's see. We have some introductory information, the language of tarot, a little bit on each of the suits. There's some numerology information there, some court card information. She's got a bit here on gender and tarot. So one of the things about this deck is she tries really hard to be incredibly inclusive. This says, tarot tradition is saturated in gender. It's inescapable. As a person who strives to make work that people of all genders can connect with, I found this difficult to reckon with. Traditional tarot decks have a definite idea of what traits are feminine and what traits are masculine. The Empress represents the softer side of the feminine archetype. She is gentle, motherly, and tied to nature. She has a sensual sexuality. She is pure emotion. The High Priestess represents the darker aspects of the feminine archetype. She is hidden and patient. She is intuitive and otherworldly. She is mystery. Together, the traits of the Empress and the High Priestess represent Tarot's idea of the feminine, a collection of women's qualities assigned by men and male ideas. It goes on to talk about the male archetype of the Emperor and of the Magician. And it talks about the repetitiveness in tarot of us seeing like the kings as men, the queens as feminine, etc., etc. It goes through here. But she really goes in depth on this topic and goes on to say when I say masculine or feminine, I mean a set of traits that have been assigned as masculine or feminine in the tradition of tarot. And I think that's a really important distinction. She's honoring the original tradition of masculine feminine traits, but she's not necessarily saying that you have to assume that that means male and female assigned. She says, when I say man or woman, I'm referring to the gender of the character in the card. I am not referring to their biological sex as determined by genitalia. Do not assume that because a character has a clearly defined gender that they are cisgendered. In this deck, gender is fluid. If gender matters symbolically in the meaning of the card, I've retained the gender expression in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. If gender doesn't matter to the symbolic meaning of the card, I may have changed it or removed any gender cues. This really is a wonderfully queer deck in a lot of ways, and that's something that I really appreciate. And I think that from all the artwork I've seen, and I'll be honest, I have seen every single one of these cards because I followed the creation of this deck very closely on Instagram and on the website. I think she did an amazing job of honoring that gender spectrum in a way that feels really accessible and approachable and not complicated. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but I just really appreciate the way that she went about this. So I'm going to set the guidebook aside and we're going to get into the cards, and we're already 9 minutes in and we haven't seen them yet, and I'm sorry. This is probably how this whole thing's going to go. So I'm going to bring the camera down a little bit and zoom us in so that we have a nice clear view of our card. So we're going to be beginning with the Fool. And there's a few details about this card that I would love to point out. First of all, I freaking love that the dog is a pug. It makes me so happy. We have the San Francisco Bridge off in the background. We have this sort of almost hipster-like character who's still sniffing the white rose, so our traditional symbology is there. There's a little bird on his shoulder, which I really think is cool. It speaks to sort of that lighthearted energy, and it may be a nod to the elemental association of the Fool, although I'm not 100% sure if the elemental association of the Fool is air, but I'd be curious about that. We still have all the symbols that we're used to seeing. I see someone who's masculine in appearance here, so I'm just going to use whatever pronouns I feel like throughout this whole thing, because this is meant to be a deck that you see as you see, right? I really, really appreciate that image. Sorry, I just had to have a sip of my tea. Now we have our Magician. And this is, I have to say, the color choices, you know, we have all of the yellow, we have all of the floral, the red and the white roses, the lilies that we're used to seeing in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. We have our 4 elements all being suspended. We have our as above, so below, with the hand up and the other hand pointing down. So everything I need in a classic Magician card is here. And I really think that this deck was created in such a way as to really honor the symbology of the original Rider-Waite, but bring it into a modern perspective and get out of some of maybe the more antiquated gender stuff and give us something that's really accessible and diverse. Sorry, I'm going to say that probably a lot, and I'm sorry, but I really like how this is done. Our High Priestess is freaking beautiful. She's stunning. We still have the pomegranates, the veil, the water in the background. Instead of black and white pillars here, we have trees, which is something I absolutely adore. And we have these like little mushrooms here too, which to me speaks to the intuitive. When I see mushrooms, I often think about magic mushrooms. I don't know what there's probably a much more mature term for that. I don't know. But that's what it makes me think of. It makes me think of sort of psychotropic like travel, like astral travel and things like that, that people have used, what do you call it, like flying ointments and things like that in traditional witchcraft. So it makes me think of that, which to me is perfect for the High Priestess. She's still got her Book of Knowledge here, and I love the triple moon on her forehead. She's fresh and modern, but with the crescent moon, I mean, like everything you need symbolically is on the card, and just beautifully done. This is one of my probably favorite empresses of all time. This is somebody who is comfortable in her own skin and in her own personal sovereignty and her personal power. She's very open. You get this feeling of vulnerability, but a strong vulnerability. You still have the waterfall in the background. We have the wheat. We have the shield and with the Venus sign, but instead of the Venus shield being a physical shield, it's carved into this stump here. We have the strawberries on her gown and the crown of stars. Like, again, everything that we would like to see, or that we see in our traditional Rider-Waite card, symbolically is still present. The Emperor. I do really like that he's standing in a position of power. He's holding the Ankh. He has the ram at his feet, the world here, and the ram on the pillars or on the thing behind him here. And we also see this laurel wreath up top. In our traditional Emperor, we see a man in a red outfit. So we have the nod to red in his tie, and he's armored. And in this case, we almost feel like the armor is the business suit. It's like the modern armor, I suppose. The Hierophant. We have the 2 supplicants. We have the keys, the staff. Everything, again, that you need. I like the more wizened sort of look to him, and he seems a little bit more approachable than some other Hierophants I've seen. I find it really interesting, and I don't know if I've recognized this from the Rider-Waite-Smith card or not, but we have here a figure that has a pomegranate down on this statue, and this statue has wheat and a scythe, and it looks almost like a nod to the Empress and a nod to the High Priestess. So I would be really interested about what the guidebook has to say about that. I adore this Lovers card. Oh, I love the vulnerability of it. I love the connection. I love the way she's got her hand on the back of his neck and is leaning into him. Like, the body language in this card is very much all about the 2 figures you see here. Like, they're very much in their own world. Like, he's got his foot forward, she's got her foot forward. They're closing off to the rest of the world. It almost gives you that feeling of it's you and me against the world. But again, we have the angel up top that we're used to seeing. And you can see here a nod to some of the other symbology from the Rider-Waite. I really like this chariot too. So I've seen chariots be represented by a person on a motorcycle before. That's not necessarily a new concept, but what's really cool about this is that typically you see a charioteer on a motorcycle, and a motorcycle is something that when you're sitting on it, you can control a little bit differently. This gives you that same energy. She's got 1 foot on the black motorcycle and 1 on the white, and you get this strong energy of will and trying to control these 2 motorcycles, which could easily obviously get her hurt, right, if she's not really focused. I love the big beautiful sun behind her, and we still have the little square on her chest, and the chariot is my sun sign birth card. I'm just looking to see, normally we see the little alchemical, I think it's like a fire symbol here. I'm not entirely sure. I'm trying to picture the Rider-Waite. I should have done a side-by-side. That'd be cool. If you guys have interest in me doing any of these walkthroughs side-by-side with like a Rider-Waite Smith deck, let me know. But that's really cool. Okay, moving on. The Strength card. So again, all the classic symbols are here. We have the lemniscate above her head. I don't know if the camera's picking that up well. She's sort of connecting with this lion, but the lion's still ferocious, but her touch is gentle. And I really do like seeing a bit of wildness in the lion in the Strength card, as long as the lion doesn't look like it's being hurt or like whipped or something like that. I like to see this sort of gentle touch with a little bit of ferocity in the lion, because that really speaks to the Strength card. This is my birth card, actually. The Hermit. Beautiful and simple and completely gets the message across. We have somebody all bundled up. Looks like they've gone on a bit of a hike. They've got their walking staff. They've got their lantern. It's interesting here because in the Rider-Waite Smith deck, the figure that's holding the lantern is almost looking down, like away from the light. Like they already have everything they need within themselves, and now they're shining this light for others. I get this sort of more direct engagement with the lantern in this version. Oh my gosh, you guys. This is going to be really long if I don't pick up the pace a little bit. The Wheel of Fortune is brilliant. We have the alchemical symbols for all 4 elements in each corner. We have this person who's clearly, at the top of the wheel. But interestingly, the fire element is like a forest fire here. The earth element is mountains. We have like rain, and we have what looks to be pretty active wind. And I almost get this impression of more uncontrollable weather forces. With the forest fire that can rage out of control, a rainstorm could rage out of control, could become thunderous. The windstorm could get out of control. It gives me more of those feelings of less stable, right? The movable or mutable energies of the elements. Really cool. And we still have the wheel with tarot, Orat, Eret, and I think those are Hebrew letters. I'm really bad with some of the symbols, but yes, Justice is looking good. She's still got the veil behind her, and her sword is directly up. It's not leaning to either side, showing her impartiality. So good. This Hanged Man is absolutely adorable. He's so cute. This little like lumberjack guy. Again, we have our little bird friend, and I think it's the same kind of bird as what we saw in our Fool card. Let's just take a look. Yeah, it looks like a very similar, if not the exact same bird. So we have this little bird friend here, and then we have this little bird friend here. I'm really interested what the guidebook has to say about that little bird. I don't know why, but that's really caught my attention. I love that we have this really wonderful glow around the head. Very peaceful. The Death card. Again, the white rose on the flag. We have the child who's dealing much better with death than the adult, and the priest here who's, prepared spiritually. We still have the sunrise with the pillars in the background. All the classic symbols again, right where we need them. I love this Temperance. I love this figure. This figure is so beautifully gender neutral. That's the same symbol. That's the symbol I was thinking of on the Charioteer, but now that I think about it, I was thinking of the Temperance symbol, chest symbol. Oh, that's the tip of the wing. I was like, what's this little bit here? These, I think these are daffodils. I love that there is a cup of water and a cup of fire, and sort of this like interesting combination of them both that's pouring down. It really speaks to that energy. I love this Devil. This is such a Pan card, right? Very like, I know it's not just Pan, but you get all of the self-made, what is the word I'm looking for here? All the same self-made capturing, bondage, that's the word I'm looking for. All the self-made bondage here with the partying and the drinking and all this kind of craziness happening down here. This is going to sound really interesting, but the tape over the breasts here, it reminds me of, this is a fairly common practice in spaces where being completely topless is either against the rules of a space or is considered inappropriate for the space. So you see this sometimes at like pride festivals, for example, or in kink-friendly spaces, that kind of thing. This person's smoking, or this figure rather, is smoking. Interesting, still has that almost like as above, so below. And I don't know if that's also present in the traditional Devil card. Yes, very good. Ooh, such a good tower. We have the bolt of lightning, people falling out. We have the waves crashing into it as, you know, it's just like this very tumultuous energy. Spot on. Oh, I love that we have this like great little belly on our star card. I really love all of the same symbols again are present here. But I love, again, the vulnerability and the nakedness in the star is, I think, a really important part of the symbology of the card. Love this moon card. I love this. This speaks to being in touch with one's wild nature, right? With putting on the mask of the wild and really getting into play and mystery. And yes, I love it. I love the really prominent crayfish or lobster type figure we have here coming out of the subconscious of the water. I also love the almost realistic markings on the moon. We also have almost a darker tree and a lighter tree. Definitely moving through fears and seeing things masked. Powerful stuff. Oh my gosh, this sun card is so cute. I am living for it. Look at this little pup down here with its stick. Oh, so cute. I love that sun as well. Here we have Anubis as the Judgment card. Ooh, that is some potent stuff. We have the heart and the feather. This is really good. Oh, this is really good. The weighing of the human soul before letting them pass through. I mean, this is such a potent image for Judgment. Very well done. One of my favorite cards in any deck. And as featured on the back of the card, this is our world. Just absolutely stunning. This beautiful, voluptuous body. We have all 4 elements. And unlike the wheel card, I'm just going to show it again so we can see the difference. Unlike the wheel card, the elements seem stable here, right? We have, you know, we have the water being, the cup being offered, the sword being offered, the coin, and the wand. These are probably reminiscent of our aces, actually, which is really cool because it speaks to how each ace is sort of the soul or the seed of its suit. And she's really free here. I like the way that this Ouroboros is being handled. You see like sort of the twist in the body of the snake, but it's still eating its own tail, and there's 2 of them. I really like that balance of energy. Oh my gosh, you guys, I really like this deck. Yep, and that is the same sort of hand here in our ace that we see here. It's not like an exact duplicate of the drawing or anything, but it's definitely the same. And look at the coloring. And the coloring through the suits, I mean, you can really see it, right? It shifts with the suit, which is really cool. And I love that. I love when you can lay out the cards and the coloring lets you immediately know where the elements are present in the suit and what you're seeing. So yeah, love it. I also like when our wands have growth, when you can see all the little ways that things are blooming and growing and expanding from this disembodied wand. That's part of the magic of the suit. We actually have here, interestingly, a little bit of a wind farm off in the distance, and we have a city. So there's definitely some speaking here of innovation and new ways of doing things, of being creative solutions to problems. So that's kind of cool that that's there. 2 of Wands. This is fantastic. And the word that I thought of when I first saw this image on Instagram was wanderlust. I mean, what is the 2 of Wands if not that wanderlust? Like that itch for the new, the itch for the new adventure. Like what am I going to do next? All this perspective and all this possibility. What am I going to choose? Oh my gosh, so good. And the 3 of Wands. To me, this is like, okay, I've made some decisions and I've begun the journey. I'm in it now. And interestingly, she's looking out the window towards all these boats. But what's happening on her work table here on her desk is it looks like she's begun a writing project. She's got some pages kind of piled around. She's begun the work now. And my personal keyword for the Three of Wands is embark. It's like the beginning stages of that creative exploration or that creative journey. You've set things in motion now, right? And it's going to start to take on a life of its own. The Four of Wands, our milestone card. Very classic here. We've got these little bunnies just having a little bit of rest, a little shelter, just a moment, a break. And this is great. The Five of Wands is the dog fight. And how great is this? If you've ever been to a dog park and watched the way that dogs play, they compete and play for the fun of it, right? They're in it to win it, but they're in it. It's just part of their nature almost. And sometimes those competitions stay playful. Sometimes they take a turn. And this kind of shows that happening right through here. You know, here we've got, you know, these guys aren't necessarily being vicious. They're just like a little tug of war. It's all good. This guy's just kind of happy in the background. And then these two are like starting to take that turn from happy fun times to maybe not so happy fun times with the competing. Fantastic Six of Wands. And I really love seeing feminine Six of Wands or more female figure looking figure in a Six of Wands, because we often see this as a traditionally male card, but it really is about kind of victory and being celebrated and sort of being in the limelight. And this is great. I love this. What a potent Seven of Wands. The Seven, all about being really defensive and kind of holding your ground, sometimes when you don't need to, sometimes when you do need to. And this gives you both interpretations just perfect. He could be being overreactive here, or he could be doing exactly what he needs to do. And again, I'm just kind of going with whatever pronoun I feel in the moment. So a lot of these figures could be either gender or non-binary. I love this Eight of Wands. I love all these creatures just rushing with these arrows. And you get that, especially with this figure right here, you get the speed and the motion and the rush of almost like a stampede, or like something's coming and you can ride with it or you can stand against it, and they're riding with it. Oh my gosh, this Nine of Wands. So kind of hearkening back to, you know, our Three of Wands, if we think about it, different figures, but to me this tells the same story. I see this sort of, we're at this creative pursuit. It's like that last push. It's when it gets really hard. It's like you can see the end, you know you're not far, and all of these pencils and pens and writing instruments are like, oh, how many attempts have been made? Like how much energy has been poured into this project? And I may be projecting because I'm actually writing a book and I'm in this stage right now, but it's got all the feels for me, all the feels. And the Ten of Wands. Again, we have a little bird friend. Wherever I see that bird, I just get this feeling of like a little bit of a reminder to maybe not take yourself quite so seriously, or a little reminder of lightness or of air. I don't know what it is about that. But this is great. You know, he's carrying his big burden, but he's managing. Our Page of Wands. I love this. This reads Butch to me in a wonderful, wonderful way. I love this. I like the sort of creativity, or not creativity, what am I looking for? Artistic, like the musically inclined person. But we still have the salamanders on the clothing that we're used to seeing. This is great. Oh, fantastic Knight of Wands. Knight on a sports bike. Like, it's perfect for the wand suit. All fire and passion. And these type of motorcycles, I don't know if this is the case everywhere, but they're often called crotch rockets. And so they're kind of known for being a passionate kind of vehicle. So that's really fantastic. Hopefully they have different kinds of motorcycles in the other ones. I can't remember. I know there's motorcycles in them, but I can't remember if they're different kinds. Actually, I remember the Pentacles. Okay, well, anyways, we'll get there. We'll get there. Our Queen of Wands is painting. And again, we have somebody who reads, at least to me, a little more non-binary, a little more androgynous or butch, which again, I love. Not sad to see it in the wand suit, of course. And I love this like little crown just kind of hovering above her head here. The cat friend just all wrapped up. I love that she's drawing with pen and ink too, which just speaks to a certain kind of creativity in my opinion, but I love that the sunflower is still there. And I adore this King of Wands. We have somebody who presents very feminine, but you know, has this very large staff of personal power and a big bonfire. We still have a little salamander over here in the bottom, and we get this feeling of just someone who's completely confident and in their power. I love that. Oh my gosh. The first time I saw a Cups card on Instagram, I completely lost my mind. The coloring of this suit is so perfect. I love this modern cup. I have a real picky thing about cups because, especially in the Ace, I want to see it overflowing, which it's definitely doing here. I love that. I am a huge fan of the lotus. It's a really meaningful symbol for me, and it is present in the Rider-Waite-Smith cup suit and in the Ace, and so I'm really glad those are still present here. There's a lot of deep meaning to the lotus flower, and I just think it's perfect for the Ace of Cups. But this is just beautiful. Probably my favorite Ace of Cups ever. I just love it. The coloring is so dreamy. Okay, and this Two of Cups. Sorry I keep fussing with the deck, but you guys, this card gives me so many warm, fuzzy feelings. This reminds me of so many of my bear friends that I met when I was teaching bear yoga. I freaking love bears. They just represent some of the kindest, most open-hearted people I've ever met in my life, and this almost makes me want to cry. It just gives me so many warm, happy feelings. And can we talk about the fact that we have two men in the Two of Cups, which we don't see male couples, particularly like really what to me looks like a real out in the world, everyday sort of male couple. Like, we don't see that a lot in tarot, if at all. You know, there's not very many decks that have done this, and I just am so grateful for it. And can we talk about how they've each got their own Starbucks or, you know, their own latte drink? It doesn't say Starbucks, but you know what I mean. Love the Three of Cups. I would have liked to see somebody more masculine presenting also in this image. I love it when we have more mixed gender in the Three of Cups, but this is gorgeous. I love that they've all got their coffees. I love that each one looks like they have a different personality, like a slightly different style. We've got one is barefoot. We've got one in a jacket, one in this like sort of free-flowing wide sleeved shirt with like wide-legged pants. This one's in like jeggings, right? But we also have these little pumpkins. I don't think there were pumpkins. I'll have to look back at my Rider-Waite. I can't remember if there were pumpkins in that card or not. But this is really adorable. I love this. And actually, these aren't necessarily coffees. I just looked, they've got little droplets coming out of them. So it's almost like this is kind of like a bit of a party. So perhaps like some solo cups with a fun beverage in there. Oh, the Four of Cups. This card gives me such a peaceful feeling, and what I really love about this is that she's clearly in a yoga pose here, and she's got her hands in a mudra. She's in a peaceful place, a content place. For me, the Four of Cups is very much about emotional stability, and she speaks to that emotional stability. She might be lingering here too long and missing something new being offered her, or she could literally be content with what she has and not in need of something new. So it gives me a couple different ways to look at this card. I think I said different. A couple of different ways. I need another sip of tea. But yeah, I really love this. But oh, this gradient in the background of these cards, like the gradients are just, they're so stunning. And can we also talk about the fact that she's not, her body has this kind of cute little muffin toppy look to it. Love it. Five of Cups. Just really a lot to look at here. You have everything you need for a traditional Rider-Waite, but if you want to dig a little deeper, we have this sort of broken down old building here. We have a bridge, and we get a more of an urban feel to the card. This person could be any gender, right? And you get this feeling almost of what it's like when you've just had a lot of emotional losses in your life and you're feeling really down and out, and you may be feeling like an outcast even. There's a lot to dig into. I like that it's more of a nighttime setting. It sets it a little bit moodier for sure. Oh, great. Six of Cups with some balcony gardening. This is fantastic. Again, I think this artist, Isabella, did such an outstanding job capturing the symbology of the traditional card. There's definitely an offering happening here. but she's not necessarily immediately taking it. I just love this. I feel like I could just stare at these cards all day long. Fantastic. 7 of Cups. All the different plants, but each individual plant also has, you know, our traditional things we're used to seeing. I love that our bird friend is back and has gotten the worm up in this little planter there. And then in this planter we have a graduation cap, we have a globe, we have a lotus, we have a money tree here, which is really interesting, a snake, and a little birdhouse. So lots you could dig into there meaning wise if you'd like. Wonderful, potent 8 of Cups. Sometimes we don't just walk away, right? Sometimes we're walking away from something that not only isn't serving us, but is actually actively broken. Sometimes we're walking away from something and we need to smash it on the way out. We need to burn that bridge intentionally. There's so many different ways to look at this card, but this gives us a few different ways to read it, and I love that. This 9 of Cups makes me pretty darn happy. Now, I've typically said that I really like seeing a feminine 9 of Cups because I personally identify with that card so much. But I do appreciate that this is somebody who's very much happy and content with what they have. It's not showing them like happy and drinking wine. It's showing them reveling in the thing that they love. Like he loves to make this pottery. Like this is a what do you call it? A passion project, right? It's something he's doing because he wants to do it, and he's doing it as much as he wants to do it. I don't know if that makes any sense. There's a feeling of comfort and contentment, which is what I want in my 9 of Cups, and it's depicted in a way that I really haven't seen a 9 of Cups be depicted before, and I love it. The 10 of Cups, so great. I love that there's the rainbow and the 10 cups, but I also love that each of the cups is extremely different, which speaks to contentment even when it doesn't look uniform, right? Your contentment, your happiness rather, your ultimate emotional happiness may not look like somebody else's. It may look totally different. You might be a wine glass kind of person, or you might be, you know, a beer glass kind of person, or a big giant tea mug. I mean, I just think that's really clever. But we have the birds here with the bird nest. And that's a wonderful way to depict the idea of family without accidentally or otherwise depicting a particular type of family. You can still see a quote-unquote traditional family here if you want, but you could also see all kinds of other families in this image. So I think that was really smart. I love the Page of Cups. She's a little bit gender neutral, a little bit ambiguous here, which is cool. And I love that she's got the little fish here in the bag, which is how we would hold a fish if we were transporting one nowadays. She's got the lotuses on her blouse here, the calm water behind her. Yeah, I love this. There we go. Our Knight of Cups is on a sort of Harley Davidson looking kind of motorcycle. We have the wings on the helmet, cup of hot coffee. Yeah, I like it. Oh, this Queen of Cups is great. I like that her body is a little bit more middle-ish. I don't know how else to say that. She's got some curves. She's got this beautiful calm ocean. She's sitting on the beach. She's facing away from the beach, which to me speaks to her comfort with the sea, and of course the sea being an allegory for emotions. She's comfortable with them. She doesn't have to always look at them, but she's very self-contained and still open. And I like this actually. I know in the traditional decks we see a covered cup for the Queen of Cups, but I like that the cup is open. And our King of Cups, fantastic. He's so comfortable riding the waves of his emotions. He knows exactly what's up. He knows how to navigate those waters. He's got the skill and the wisdom to do that. This reminds me actually in a completely different way visually, but it reminds me of the Mary L. Tarot King of Cups, who is floating on his back naked in a pool of water with the lotuses and things all around him. I like to see a king who's on the surface of the water because it's a wonderful allegory for how they are connected with their emotions, but they don't let their emotions control them. Ace of Swords. The aces in the suit are great. Two of Swords. Yep, she's taking her time. She's going to make her decision. She's a little locked up, but she'll get there. Love these little pigtails. A difficult Three of Swords. The Three of Swords in my practice is the lesson card. And so we want, at least I want to see some sign of hardship. This is a difficult image and it's meant to really make you feel that pain. This feels a little more final than I would like. It's probably my least favorite card in the deck. Not because I have a problem with seeing death depicted, but more because to me the 3 is a little less final than say the 10, and so I'm used to seeing a little more recovery possibility in the 3, but this is much closer to what we see in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck, of course. The Four of Swords. This is great. A lot of times in 4s, we see somebody resting from the battle or taking a break from the intensity of their situation, but they've still got their sword or their knife close at hand, and so she's sleeping with her knife. I mean, she's going to be able to pop out and be ready if she needs to be, but she's taking much needed rest. Our Five of Swords. And we have these 2 figures, just same as we would in the Rider-Waite-Smith. In the background there, we have this building that's kind of falling apart. You definitely get this feeling of he's got more than he needs, and there's a whole story you could tell with this image. There's so much you can see just in the look on his face. Hopefully my camera will keep up with me. There we go. There's like a resolute sort of, well, I did what I had to do kind of look on his face, but did he, or did he go overboard? The Six of Swords. This is interesting because usually we see somebody being ferried and we see the swords in the boat, or in a lot of decks we'll see the swords or the knives in this case left on the shore. In this case the knives seem to be metaphorical and they're not being brought with the person on the boat. There's an interesting little snake friend following after them though, and a lot of times in the Six of Swords we're escaping from something difficult or something challenging, and we carry some of the remnants of that situation with us. And so I think this could be read with the swords up in the sky like this. They could be read, or the knives rather, they could be read as coming with him or being left behind, depending on the situation, the client, the situation, your own situation, of course. Seven of Swords. He has beaten it from this cabin where it looks like he probably snagged all of these. He's rushing, he's dropping some. There's a carelessness to the Seven of Swords, which is not something I mind seeing, because a lot of times in the Seven of Swords there is self-deception and there's maybe overreaction, or not having the full story present. I like that we see a figure here who is male looking but has some wider hip and thigh. Definitely some body diversity through this deck. Oh, speaking of which, this is another one of my favorite cards. I love the way that this is depicted. Interestingly here, she is surrounded by 8 swords, as we're used to seeing. She's kneeling, she's in the storm. In the Rider-Waite, she's standing. And she's blindfolded in the Rider-Waite as well. But what catches my attention about this is that the rain is being stopped by some of the swords. Almost like she's protecting herself from the reality of her situation by staying within sort of her comfort zone in a way of being stuck. This is probably present because this was a topic that came up recently in my Self-Worth Saturday, but it's a really interesting visual to see the rain bouncing off of these swords here. And I also notice that the way that the rope is tied, it looks a little bit like, what's the word for it, for like traditional Japanese bondage. This is probably not a very age-appropriate review. But the style of the way that the rope is tied, particularly up here, is definitely reminiscent of that. And so it kind of speaks to almost like a conscious surrender or a conscious giving over of power. So there's a lot for me to read in this card, and some of this might be subtleties that I don't know if the creator fully intended, but I suspect she may have, because there's a lot of inclusivity here from a gender perspective, but also from a sort of a sex positivity perspective, and that's interesting. The Nine of Swords. Oh, that is how it feels, isn't it, when we're just getting like, overwhelmed. There's not much to say. This is so perfect for the, and the card for me here is usually anxiety or worry. And a graphic and intense Ten of Swords. This is, this is what we're used to seeing in the Ten of Swords in the tarot. There's not really a lot to say here. There's a drama here. There's a passionate reaction and ending, and you know, there's a rock bottom feeling to this image. It's interesting that she's like partially dressed or in a bikini. I'm not sure which. You get this feeling of being stabbed in the back while she was already feeling vulnerable. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of feels in here. It's interesting though that the clouds are clearing. You know, it's what's done is done. Page of Swords. This is great. This is somebody who is paying attention. Interesting, we can start to see some wind moving in the trees in the background, some birds on the move. Things are definitely being stirred up. Yes, love the Knight of Swords. This is great. Actively in motion and riding against the wind. You can see with the clouds and the trees, the wind is moving this direction and moving into the wind. We see that in the Rider-Waite-Smith card as well. And here's our bird friend also riding with the wind. I'm really curious if the guidebook comments on the birds that come in. Oh yeah, great Queen of Swords. I love her. I love her sort of more retro look to her hair. This is so cute. I love that. Fantastic King of Swords. This makes me think of so many people who I think of as very smart and strategic, and it just, there's a little bit of Bill Gates in his face. I freaking love this. I love that he's got this bird of prey, this falcon, resting on his hand. There's a sense of power and control. There's almost a little bit of, I definitely see, I'm thinking Game of Thrones, and I'm Tywin Lannister, the dad. That's what I'm thinking of from Game of Thrones. That's who he makes me think of for some reason. Very interesting. And finally, our Pentacles suit. Whew, this did get long, but I did warn you guys, so there's that. The Ace of Pentacles. No complaints. Spot on. Yes. One of the things I love about the Two of Pentacles is some sign that the person in the card is out of their element. Oh, I bounced my camera. Sorry. So some of my favorite decks show, like, for example, in the Dark Mansion Tarot, we see the person in the Two of Pentacles is on a high wire. In this deck, or in this card, just like in the traditional, we see somebody is actually at the beach. Like, and this has this kind of like almost like artificial Broadway play background kind of feel to it, but we get the idea that this earthy person is a little bit out of her element. She's surrounded by water, and there is a feeling oftentimes, I think, in the Two of Pentacles of being a little bit out of our element and still just trying to keep all of our balls in the air, right? Keep everything moving. Love it. I love any kind of carving in the Three of Pentacles. I just love it. I think it speaks to the Rider-Waite-Smith really well. I love that these three figures are, you know, working together with plans to bring this figure to life as accurately or as possible to what they envision. It's good, good. Classic Four of Pentacles. He looks a little severe, and I guess that's true as well of the Rider-Waite-Smith. I do love it when cards give this card a little bit more neutral of a feeling, but it is what it is. You know, he's holding on to his resources, and that can be seen as very greedy and selfish, or it could be seen as holding on where you need to hold on, right? Sometimes you just have to wall yourself in and hold on to what you've got for a bit, and sometimes, you know, you're in a different place. Very classic Five of Pentacles here. It's very Rider-Waite-Smith. Heartbreaking that her feet are bare in this photo. And, you know, we have this other person walking by. Still the light in the window. Our Six of Pentacles. I really like how this shows the sort of rebalancing of financial resources or of financial power, but she seems to be coming at it from maybe not the best place. Like there's a little bit of, or a fair amount of ego, I feel like we see in her facial expression. A little bit of I'm better than you by my ability to share here, which is kind of interesting. And you don't have to view it that way. It's just interesting that I could, because sometimes the Six of Pentacles does have a very transactional energy to it, and this almost feels a little bit like that, like somebody who's doing what they think they should but it doesn't seem like it's coming from an open heart. Does that make sense? But again, it's just one of the things, it's one of the things I love about tarot is that we all get different perspectives from the imagery. The Seven of Pentacles, just waiting for things to ripen, and we'll find out how they all turned out. I like that he's got a very optimistic outlook, which is great. We can always hope for the best, right? Our Eight of Pentacles, just mastering the craft, refinement. Interesting that what you see in the back is actually what looks to be cranes for like high-rise buildings going up. I might be thinking that because the area that I live, which is in the greater Vancouver area in BC, has a lot of this on our skyline. A lot of building, a lot of expanding. I love that there's an anvil here. I just love the idea of tempering metals and steels and stuff like that. I think on forging, I guess. Forge, is that what that's called? Forging? I don't know. But I like that as a symbol. Our Nine of Pentacles, enjoying what she's built for herself, enjoying where she's gotten, letting herself, you know, enjoy her life. I love that there's a little snail here. It just kind of reminds us that our gardens aren't perfect, right? Like there's always a little something to be worked on, even when we think we're able to sort of settle in and just enjoy. The Ten of Pentacles. I love this. Oh my gosh. So we have so many it feels like we have, yeah, we have 3 generations, I suppose. So we have, you know, the grandparent, some parents, and then 2 small children, and then the 2 dogs. And I just love this sort of outdoor lantern hanging out in our patio or like a barn party kind of feel. Love it. The Page of Pentacles. Yes. Again, we're not seeing that sort of body beautiful aesthetic here. We're seeing, you know, realistic looking bodies. Yes, our Knight of Pentacles is like on this like kind of not fancy motorcycle, just something that'll get him from point A to point B. And pausing, taking time, being careful, stable. Yeah, I love that. It looks like he's wearing dandelion leaves in his helmet here. And there's dandelions down at the bottom too, and I don't remember that from the Rider-Waite-Smith. I'll have to check that out. I'm just loving how the art, because it's simple, kind of like how the Rider-Waite-Smith is simple. It's not overly cluttered. You can really spot each thing that's in the card and think about it. The barn in the distance, the fields, you know, the dandelion leaves. It just, you have an opportunity to dig deeper. The Queen of Pentacles. I love that she's got a little scooter. This is super cute with this little jackalope. What is happening here? This is amazing. I don't remember this from the Instagram. I don't know if I didn't see this image or if I just didn't notice that this was a jackalope, but it's like a bunny with antlers. Like it's the cutest dang thing ever. I love it. And I love that she's like, yeah, I got you. That's fantastic. And the roses. Okay, and finally, our King of Pentacles. And I have a real soft spot in my heart for King of Pentacles who look really relaxed, like the man spreading we sort of see happening here, and this like really chill, he's got his glass of wine, he's good. King of Pentacles people that I've known in my life have been very comfortable in their own skin. They've been really content with who they are, and they don't feel like they need to impress anybody because they know they've got it. You know what I mean? There's a confidence, but it's a oops, I kicked the camera again. Sorry. It's a non-assuming kind of confidence. Sorry for the wobble there. It's a humble confidence, or maybe humble's the wrong word, but it's definitely comfortable. I just keep coming back to comfortable. I love that he's got the ram here beside him. And we have more vegetation we could dig into here if we wanted. Oh, so good, you guys. Okay, I have to shuffle it, but I'm going to zoom us out first. Okay. Whoa, there we go. So let's see how it shuffles. It feels really good though. Oh my gosh, it's always like, it's like that first like shuffle. It's like, ah. Oh yeah, this is 350. I'm pretty sure this has got to be a 350 GSM. It's a little too stiff for a 330, I think. So it's really nice. It's not hard to shuffle, and that was a bad shuffle on my part. It's not hard to shuffle, and I really like the gilding. Gilding does make rifle shuffles a little bit more uncomfortable, just ever so slightly, but I don't mind. Bridges nicely. Oh, can we talk again about this holographic gilding though? Like for realsies. Look at that. So I believe, I'm not sure if when you pre-order this deck you can get it in the black or the gold, or if it just comes only in the gold. This may have been, I know that the option to have the black holographic was a stretch goal. As a reminder, this deck is available for pre-order on thismightHurtTarot.com. I will have the information for that down below. If you happen to be in the Chicago area, Isabella Rotman is having a release party at Ars Memoria in Chicago on October 18th, and that information will also be down below. And I believe that if you are a backer of this deck and we're not one of the ones who is doing a review on it, then you could expect your deck to ship out between October 18th, early November-ish, so a little bit later, but it will be going out, which is amazing. And I think that's about it. If you have any questions about this deck, or you don't see any links below that you need, please contact me right away and I will make sure that you get that information. But for now, I just wanted to say thank you so much for hanging out with me while I moved us through this deck. Thank you for hanging out for like an hour so that I could really spend some quality time going through all of the artwork. It was a joy to do, and thank you to Isabella for sending me this deck early for review. I really genuinely appreciate it. I am a proud backer of this deck, and I know it's going to be very, very successful. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye!